And running for U.S. Congress, Mike Bost currently serves us in the 115th District, running for a seat currently held by Bill Enyart. Mike, good morning. Glad to have you.
Thanks, Les. Thanks. Good to be here.
It's good to be here. So what's going on? What do you got going?
Well, let's see. Everything's kind of slow, not a lot going on. No, today we've got to do a large conference call when we get done here. Then we're headed up to Redbud. We'll be walking precincts in Randolph County. We actually have a chili dinner up there tonight that we're going to. Tomorrow is we actually have the Speaker of the U.S. House coming in for an event, and it's just one event after another, busy through the 4th, and then we'll see what happens after that. Exactly. So we're just out meeting with people and wearing shoe leather out and doing all those things.
Mike, how has it been much different, or can you talk about the difference between running at the state level versus the national level?
Here's the thing. You actually spend more time on the phone trying to raise money because it's so expensive, and you're not only doing it at the local level, you're doing it at a national level, talking to people that are participating and everything like that that can contribute to the campaign, because the sheer cost of running this campaign, because you go into the St. Louis market, which is just a point, which is you take 1,000 points to get your message out. A point in the television market down here is $60 a point. Up there, it's $600 a point. So you spend that. That's the big difference, is actually just the sheer size of the district and the fact you're having to raise money. I enjoy walking precincts, but you don't walk. Obviously, you can't walk the entire 12th congressional district. So that's the biggest difference.
Okay, Mike, let's dive into why you're doing this.
Okay.
You've served in the State House for going on 20 years. Ever well known, people in this district like you. Why make the change and try to go represent us in Washington?
Les, it was a really big decision because I considered it 2 years ago, prayed it out, waited out, and decided not to at that time. But this time, you see D.C. and what's going on, and I could either have sat at home and said, you know what, let somebody else deal with it, it's all messed up. But I looked at those 9 grandchildren of mine and said, no, somebody's got to at least try. And let me tell you that I'm not happy with the representation that we've been receiving over the last 2 years. I'm just not. And Bill's a nice enough guy, but I don't think he understands that this is a servant's job where you have to stay in constant communication with not only the elected officials in the district, but chambers and people of the district, so you can keep your finger on the pulse of exactly what is the concerns and what can we do to correct the problems.
What problems are you wanting to correct?
Well, let me explain that. Right now, we are overregulated through the EPA, through the IRS, through the list goes on and on of agencies that discourage economic growth, business growth. And some of the best examples of that is, we here in the state of Illinois having the opportunity to use sensibly and safely coal. And unfortunately, the EPA was coming up with specific rules that could have stifled that. 42% of our energy. Now, should we change and try to work at something else? Sure, I'm all for solar, and I'm all for wind and any other natural source. But right now, we're in a situation where we can't throw our situation into turmoil. 42% of the power in the state of Illinois comes from coal. And so we've got to make sure that we are able to use that wisely. We continue to put people to work. Not only that, when you start talking about the northern part of this district, the Keystone Pipeline, people don't understand exactly what that does and how it affects everyone in the district. One is that, the major dump-off place is at Wood River. There's a plant that's got $4 billion worth of renovations that it's ready to handle all that they'll pump out of that shale out of Canada down to us when the Keystone Pipeline. Now, understand the Keystone Pipeline, a lot of people don't understand this, is already in place. This would be what's known as Keystone XL, which comes over and then goes, it empties it ends just north of Mount Vernon. So the construction job in itself, and then what it does. Of course, the real advantage is that all of a sudden now it is a benefit to our farmers because the transportation cost of hauling their grain, like a year like we have this year, all of a sudden comes down because right now it's very high because we're having to transport all that crude instead of by pipeline. We're doing it by truck, which takes a lot of, and train. So these are all issues. It's employment. It's jobs. That's what it's about, and that's the arguments what we've got to deal with. Now, there's also a lot of more other issues than that. When we start dealing with the importance of securing our borders, dealing with immigration rules, dealing with now the outbreak of disease and the concerns that we have there, as well as dealing with ISIL and ISIS and all the issues that are going on there as well.
Hey, Mike, one of the things that I hear a lot from folks that I speak to here in Carbondale is there's a sentiment that I think is our region, because we're very rural, and especially at the state level, we just feel like we don't have that big of a voice. We don't have a lot of people living here. We don't have a lot of power, for lack of a better word. But one of the questions I was going to ask you is that at the national level, even, I never thought in my lifetime I would see this kind of gridlock. It just seems like it's so hard to get anything done.
Here's what's really wild. Everybody says, well, it's partisan gridlock. Well, it's really not. It's more like what we've got in Illinois, because I'm going to tell you there are 360 bipartisan bills laying on Harry Reid's desk. The argument is not between members in the House, because Democrats and Republicans have worked together to move 360 bills over these last 2 years to Harry Reid's desk where they lay. And because Harry Reid won't allow them to be called, because he's afraid some of them may pass because it will be in bipartisan support. So we have a real problem that is similar to what we have in the state when we deal with Mike Madigan. You have so much power in one person's hand. Wow, that sounds like something I said on the floor. But that is a true issue. And we have to learn as voters how to deal with that and send those representatives that will. Arguing's not wrong. That's what we do. That's the way this government works. The question is, can you come to a position where you can work together and finally end up? Now you're gonna argue, and let me tell you that in this job, conflict is inevitable. Combat's optional, and the question is, can you have conflict today and deal with it and move forward? And I've spent the last 20 years doing that. I mean, there's many a bill that we've moved together in bipartisan manner and working across both sides of the aisle. Unfortunately, it just doesn't make news because gridlock makes news, and that way everybody can say that. So, but it does exist, but it's because between Republicans and Democrats in the House. It's over in the Senate that they're holding it up.
Yeah, we've asked all of our candidates for Congress. You get to Washington, what's the first thing you're going to do? Besides try to find your office.
But there is that. Let's probably to try to a couple things. I have been dealing on a statewide budget for years and understand line items and problems. I will be able to look at that and try to figure out where we're at and where the waste is and the concerns that I would have, but also to what I said earlier, which is to try to find as much of the bureaucracy that is causing business not to grow and jobs not to be created, and go after them. And I'll probably be pretty vicious about that. They probably won't like me for that, but they'll get over it.
Very good. Mike, what's the next, we've got about 2 minutes here. What's the next week hold for you? What are you going to be doing the next week and a half? Or so?
We are actually starting on a whirlwind tour we got a debate Wednesday night. But after that debate, we will be everywhere from Cairo to Alton to Mount Vernon to every place in between, and of course that's what we've been doing for the last 18 months, 20 months, and that's what I'm going to continue to do, and know that come Tuesday, the 7 o'clock of next week, I will lay my head down and know I did the best I could, and hope that the people will send me to Washington.
How about a vacation, Mike? You think a vacation will be in store after
I got a feeling that's not going to. When elected, that probably isn't going to come to fruition for a while. So,
what's been the biggest surprise you've encountered over these last 20 months? What's comes to mind? Something that you really didn't expect, or what have you heard that surprised you?
I guess probably, I don't know that there's any surprises. It's just the sheer size of the district and trying to cover that is it's no surprise except for the fact it's how is it that we're not in Kansas anymore? Whenever you're not in a state rep district anymore. You're in a congressional district, and it's very big, and it's but it isn't as diverse as what people are. Just Southern Illinois people wanting to work and enjoy life.
Yep. We've got roughly a minute left in this segment, so here's your chance. Without being too political, but tell us. Here's your chance to pitch to our listeners.
Let me just say, I have had the golden opportunity for the last 20 years to serve as the representative of the 115th district. I am asking for the voters to send me. I hope that they've been happy with the job I've done there. I'm asking for them to send me to represent them in Washington. The one thing I want to say is that it will be with a servant's heart that I go, and I'm willing to offer myself up. I'm hoping they'll send me.
And Election Day is when?
The 4th, a week from tomorrow.
A week from tomorrow. So
That's right.
8 more days on the campaign trail.
8 more days.
We've been visiting with Mike Bost, a Republican candidate for Congress, who is one of finishing up our series of congressional and state house guests in our studio. Mike, thank you.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Best of luck to you.
Yeah,
thank you very,
absolutely.
very much.
So we'll continue our Talk of the Town.